Let the people hear that voice. Damn, when you hear that name.
It was a proud moment for the Asian culture.
I just looked in the mirror and I accepted myself.
Yes. Please, I beg you, cut it out. So when I first met Zach Knight, I had this perception in my head that he was going to be a... But when I met him, he was actually such a humble guy, really down to earth, really supportive. And I'm grateful that we've had a friendship for over 10 years. So let's see what's behind the music. He's a good friend of mine. I'm really excited to have him on the show. He's had over 1 billion views on his music videos. He's an IFA Award winner. He's also a former Britasia winner for Best Breakthrough and Best Urban Act. Welcome to the show, bro.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Different.
Yeah.
I'm used to... Well, I haven't seen you that much to be fair. You've been hiding during COVID, so...
I mean, you know, it's been crazy. I've been talking about the COVID, like, how's it been for you during like lockdown and stuff? Like, what you've been up to?
It's been good, man. You know what, I needed time to focus. It's been, like, I suppose it's been hectic for everyone up until that point. And then when it happened, it was like, it was just a nice time to reset, really.
All right. Do you feel like the time that you had, like, you know, not performing and stuff, do you feel like you were more, like you were able to be more creative, work on more records and, you know, did you use that time, like, wisely?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I used it wisely, but also, like, helped me, like, appreciate just, like, the basic things that we take for granted as corny as that sounds. Like, honestly, like, just spending more time with family, people that I care about, and just like, you know, like I said, appreciating the journey so far. Like that was the like we get so caught up in like just doing this and doing that, especially in the entertainment industry. It's like a bit of a rat race, you know. So it's nice to just be able to just stop and just reflect.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, bro. Like, even for me, like during lockdown, nothing happening. I think most people were doing their gardening and stuff like that, you know. But every time I used to call you, you'd be in the studio like working on like crazy music, bro. So,
I mean, I look like I'm doing work, but you know what? I get in here and I think I'm going to do something, and then I end up just like surfing the net or like doing some stupid stuff. So, but it's funny you mentioned that gardening, because I found like a few more hobbies that I probably never would have done. So yeah, it was a good time.
Definitely, yeah. You've been around for a long time, bro. You know, like I remember when I first started out. I'm not trying to make you feel old, but you know, I just remember like the first time I heard your record, it was My Moment, and you used to go by the name of ZK back then. And I just remember hearing that song, and I was like, whoa, this guy's dope. And obviously I didn't know you back then, but I just heard your music and I was like, yeah, you just had something like, you know, that was very different, that stood out from, I feel like, a lot of artists that was out at that time, especially. So like, obviously, what's the transition been like for you to like go from ZK to Zach Knight now? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think every artist has an evolution. I think I remember when you started making music, and then where you are like in the last few years. So, like, everyone has like a growth period, and like I was a teenager, man. I was a kid, you know, and I didn't have a clue, and like just making music, and it was my initials, that name ZK. So I just kind of ran with that, and then started working with a new company, and they just said, you know what, we don't want to work with you unless you change your name. So I was like, all right then.
Yeah.
So I just changed my name, and then I stopped working with them, and then I worked with another company, and it just went from there, really. Just like, wow. I think just being an artist in general is just about recreating yourself, just keeping things fresh, because you know it can get boring sometimes.
Definitely.
Especially doing it as long as probably I did it, you know.
So were you signed? You were signed back then, right? You were signed when you were ZK.
I don't know what signed is, but like, yeah, I mean, I was signed to a bunch of different companies. I was in a production deal with like a management company. I was in I was in a record deal with an Indian company. Then I was in a record deal with an independent company. Like, you know, it's just part of the process, man.
What's your experience been like being with like a label or a record label? Like, because obviously you're independent now, right? You put your own music out, you've got that freedom, but what was it like being signed to like a label? Do you feel like it restricted you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, there is restrictions and stuff, but you know, it's nice to have support, you know, and to be able to work in a team. Like, I think the biggest problem with like the Asian industry in general, and this is what I've seen from starting from when I was a kid to now, is like, yeah, there's a lack of A&R, there's no structure, there's no kind of like where do you go? Like, if there's a young Asian kid watching this or whatever, and they want to get into music, they don't really have an avenue, and that's kind of the problem that we had. So we were just kind of like getting our homeboys to, like, you know what I mean, make the phone calls, book it up. Do you know what I'm saying? It was just one of those. It's just very much just like very early beginnings.
Nice. And obviously back then you was doing like mostly like urban music, right? Like R&B. Yeah. You didn't really dabble into the whole fusion. What made you kind of do that though, bro? Because I feel like, I mean, I love your early stuff, bro. Like, you know, what you did with the whole, the music that you did back then. And I feel like now, the fusion that you're doing and you've done it successfully, I think it really suits you. And like, did you have any like, were you like nervous to do that? Because I know like me, when I was signed with my label, I was really nervous to do like any kind of like fusion songs, because I was like, that wasn't me. Like, you almost feel like, oh, it's not cool, I don't want to do this, but I just felt like, not selling out, but I just felt like I didn't feel comfortable, you know, at that time, because my mindset was just like R&B. How was that transition for you then? Like, did you always want to like do that, or, you know, what was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, it was the same for me. Like, oh, I don't know. And my main thing wasn't that, oh, I didn't want to like sell out or do Asian music and that kind of thing, and look down at it at any point, which a lot of artists think, oh, Asian music is second-rate industry, da-da-da-da. They say a lot of things about it. There's a lot of stigmas, but it's changing over time now. A lot of artists are doing well, but that's just a side note. The main thing is that I didn't feel Asian enough, and that was the truth. And so I didn't feel like I knew enough about Punjabi music or Indian music, Bollywood music. Like, hadn't been exposed to enough of it. So I didn't really feel like I was qualified. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't transition earlier on. And then when I did transition, it was kind of like, you know, music in general is just going towards the East anyway, like in India and stuff. It's like the next new wave or whatever. So like, I suppose, I mean, I like you said, I went on it quite early on, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
You were one of the first to do it, really.
No, I mean, there was a few. I mean, in terms of like our generation, I mean, obviously we had the Bojack I mean, those guys been doing, you know, in the Ragavs and all that sort of stuff, which is great. But it's just every generation has like a new take on the Indian thing. Yeah, definitely. And I think we've just kind of got our own way of doing it, which is cool, and that's probably why it resonated with the youth. But more importantly, yeah, it was just a like a transition thing where it just felt right. It wasn't like I wanted to now throw Asian in it because I can get more views. It wasn't about that really. It just felt like the right time. So I've been exposed to more of it. And actually the more shows I did and the more music I made, the more I noticed people were like, oh, we want more of this and we want more of that. And so it was just about having that relationship with your fans and giving them what they want ultimately.
Right. And do you feel like you see the difference in success, or like, you know, when you were doing the R&B, like pop music, and you're doing the fusion stuff now, do you see a difference in like how your music is being like taken by the audience? Like, do you feel like you're getting, I mean, you've got more fan base off right?
It definitely makes sense. I know what you're saying. Like doing music where you're able to mix, like, you know, like an Usher vibe. Let's say Usher did a song, or Chris Brown did a Punjabi song. Imagine how crazy that would be. And that's kind of the gap that we're filling. And that's really cool. And it makes sense because it gives you like a USP. Otherwise, for me to go to America and drop an R&B joint, it's like, well, they got hundreds of those guys in ATL, like way better than all. They're way better than us. So it's like, you just gotta find what's you, and that's most important. Whether it's Punjabi or Spanish or whatever, it's just finding a unique selling point, and then being the only one, or being one of the only few. And definitely, just to answer your question, because I keep going on a tangent, is for sure. Like, as soon as I found myself and my sound, you know, everything else just became really, really effortless and just organic, and the success, you know, kind of came from there.
Yeah, I feel like you've definitely found the formula, and you know what works for you as well, because you have, I don't know, I've heard a lot of fusion records, you know, people trying to do that, but I just feel like you stand out a lot, bro. Like, just the way you mix the songs together with your English, with the Punjabi, the Indian, you know, Hindi lyrics and stuff, like the way.
And I don't honestly think, I mean, because I don't think it comes down to who's better than any, like, it's not about who's better than who. I think I was lucky, and I say it's luck, because I'd not been trying to do Asian music for so long. So when I did try and do the Asian thing, I think that was where I found my USP, because my take on, say, Bollywood music is a bit like a mainstream producer and how he would make a Indian song, as opposed to being fully like into the Indian music and making another Indian song that you've heard. You know, a lot of these Punjabi songs, I mean, I love the Punjabi music, but I love it when they mix the genres, the cross genres. And that's probably why I do it so much. But like, I love it when they cross, because it just keeps it fresh, and it's like nothing you've ever heard before. So that's exactly why. I don't know what we were talking about now. I just went off it.
And the fact that also that you know the beat is quite like, you know, mainstreamy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not very Asian-y as well. Like, that's what I think that would connect with a lot of young people as well.
That's what I was actually going to say. Yeah. So like, my take is kind of like, I had a different approach, a bit like a Coconut would do with like Asian music. I don't look at it as, let me just try and make the same Bolly sound or the classical sound. It's like, I'm trying to make it as, what would my, let's say, non-Asian people think of this kind of thing? Because I'm not, as I said, I wasn't brought up around Asian music too much. So I kind of just think it's music at the end of the day, regardless of whether it's Asian or not. And if it feels right to me, like, then it should feel right universally.
Did you speak the language as well? Obviously, you know, like how hard was that?
No. Yeah, exactly. I didn't speak it, and you know, I'm really trying to learn it now, but it's such a struggle because when you don't grow up speaking the language, it's like, when it comes to, you know what I mean?
I know, I tried it.
When I tried the interview in India, it's like, they're like, you're Hindi mein bol, and I'm like, yo, listen, man. Like,
they know, you can't hide that.
Bro.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you can't, that's the thing, like anyone that's gonna wanna try and kind of get a piece of that or try and get into that kind of fusion stuff, you have to really know what you're doing and, you know, pronounce the words right, because they definitely know, like, you know.
Well, luckily music is music, and you know, you understand like the basics of music and the chords and stuff as you do, like it doesn't matter if you don't understand a language. You got artists singing in Spanish you don't speak one Spanish, you know. That's the beauty of the music. You make a great melody. People, and the great thing is now is people don't even care about lyrics anymore. Honestly, like people just, I see like English people singing along to songs they don't have a clue what they're saying. They just like the beat and they like the vibe, and I think that's a great thing because it's like it gives us a chance.
Absolutely. So obviously, like, you're doing your fusion tracks, but you actually do like Bollywood medley series as well. What inspired you to do that? Like, how do you?
Well, I actually had no intention of doing like covers, because I did a few right at the beginning of like my career, and I was like, well, I've always been like one of those, because I pride myself as a songwriter first and foremost. So like really actually writing my music. So that was why I was really careful. And with the medley series, that I only made that for when we did like private events, like weddings and stuff, you know, the odd stuff I do here and there for like fat families and stuff. I'll like do a few appearances, and I found when I went to them, they'd ask me, oh, can you sing my favorite Bollywood song? And I was like, because obviously you can't be at a wedding and you're like singing R&B and you know what I mean? You can't be like doing them Grey Goose in the booth and da-da-da. You can't be dropping them bars and then you got like aunties looking at you, hey, and all that. You know, you can't have that. Right. So I had to go in a few Bollywood tunes, just keep it fresh. So that was what I did is I put the series together for the shows, not for YouTube and not for releases.
Wow,
but then
I didn't know that.
I was like, you know what?
Right.
That's it. And it just went from there. And then people just wanted me to just do loads and loads of versions of different songs. But what I think was unique about it, and one of the reasons why I feel like I did well off it, was because I managed to find, and again, by accident, I managed to find like a bunch of songs that all sound the same. Same kind of tempos, structure, keys, and I put all in one.
Right. That must be like difficult for, I mean, you know, like mashing up so many different songs into one, because first of all, everything's got to be right in terms of key and whatnot. Like, you really take the time and like look at that, right? It must be a long process.
It's definitely harder than it looks. Like people think, oh, I don't know, they couldn't tell which song changes into what song, because obviously there's like a medley series has like 5-6 Bollywood songs. It's super hard, but like it's just fun, and it allows me to do. Allows me to be the songwriter and approach it. Because when we make music, right, what do? We make like 6-7 hooks, and then we make a song out of it.
Absolutely.
But it depends what order the hooks come in, right? So it's the exact same thing, but we're just doing it with other people's songs.
Right. Well, you know, because you write, you're a songwriter, you produce, you're a vocalist, you do everything. Like, you know, I know that you're like a one-man band. Like, I think it's crazy, like the way you, even with your videos, like you are very hands-on. Have you always been like that?
I think we spoke about this once before whenever I catch you off guard. And actually, I didn't have the resources. I touched about it earlier as well. I didn't have the resources. I didn't really have a label. The label I worked with was like, you do it. Everybody I worked with who was like working with me was like, you do it. You can do it. And I was like, okay. So I had no choice. In fact, I did it I had no resources. The main reason why I directed all my videos and I drew the treatments and I shot them videos practically built the crew around it. I then worked as like a director. I shot a couple of Punjabi videos behind the scenes. People don't know that. Like, I don't put that out there because
I always tell you should, because I think that's incredible for an artist to be able to do all that. Like, that's like, you know, big artists.
Yeah, I had help, you know. Keezer's like, he kind of like played my mentor role at that time, where he was like, look, just, you know, because he knew I didn't have financial assistance. I didn't have my parents. I didn't have mommy and daddy saying like, here's money and blah, blah, blah. I had none of that. And it wasn't that they didn't offer it me, like they still love me and they still want to support me. But as a man, you should be able to just fend for yourself. Like, you should go out there after like 18, 20, like you should just go out there and use the money that you've made to put back into your passion. And that's what I did. So I did a bunch of videos. I learned how music videos work. And my approach is the same with everything, which is before you do something, learn about like how it works, hone your craft, and then go and do it. Otherwise, it's like, especially since you talk about being ZK, what I learned from being ZK was I wasn't ready for the attention and, you know, whatever I got from it, like, you know, even the little bit of the local scene, like recognizing my music, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for the live shows. I didn't know how to perform. I didn't know about music videos. So I stopped making music, and that was the transition between ZK and Zach Knight, because I needed to do my homework.
Right.
I didn't want to be famous, and then what do you do then?
That's true. I think people, like, especially in this industry, like the music agency, like people don't look at the bigger picture, or like a goal, like a long-term goal. People would put just a record out there and not, you know, maybe not have a follow-up or not know what else to do after that.
It's like the way we play cricket sometimes, you know, just hitting open.
Literally. I mean, talking about that, like, you managed to stay so consistent. Like, even during lockdown, you've had like 3-4 videos out already, bro. Like, how do you...
Yeah, like
is this
some video?
No, but you know, it's still content, you know, and the way you keep it consistent, like, you know, there's only a handful of artists that do that, you know, but I feel like you definitely are consistent. How do you keep the motivation, especially when there's no shows, so you don't have anything to feed back on? Like, how do you stay consistent with that, you know? Is it the fans? Like, do they keep harassing you for music?
Yeah, to be honest, like, yeah, you know how it is when you get these messages and you're like, you know, I can't let people down. And sometimes I struggle with saying no sometimes, basically. So yeah, if I see like a lot of like, oh, we need the next song, we need this, I'm just like, it kicks me into gear. I think if we didn't have that interaction with the beautiful people out there, we would probably just be sitting around watching Netflix.
Absolutely. Because you know what, like, you know, you and me have been in the industry for a long time, and we've seen like artists release a tune and then just disappear, you know, and I think it's so important, if you do want to take this music, like, you know, seriously, you have to be consistent. And I feel like
it comes back to the no support system, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
There's no A&R. Do you know any A&Rs? Do you know any production companies? Do you know any academies or in this industry that has places where people can go and develop artists? I can't even think of many management companies that take on new artists.
You could be the first to start it though. An academy.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't alluding to I'm going to say, I'm not trying to do There's a reason why it's close to my heart is because I want to be, I'm setting something up at the moment. I'm doing an online training platform. But again, this isn't about me plugging an online training platform. The point is...
I know, but like, I know we've had conversations.
But when we started, it was like, you know, there wasn't anything. And that's why so many of these artists that you hear give up, because I don't blame them. And we have so much talent. There are so many amazing artists out there.
There are so many.
I see it all the time, and then I never hear from them for like another year or two. And it's a shame because
I think
we do have so much support as well.
Definitely. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe even like being Asian and trying to figure it out on like, how am I going to release this, or I need a manager to plug me up with a plug or whatever it is. I think a lot of people overthink it, but really and truly, there's social media is a big platform to get your music out there. Yeah, because like obviously, like 2010, it was like kind of kicking off, and you know, do you feel like now it's a lot easier to release music because of all that YouTube?
Way more platforms, you know, there's a lot of companies, I mean, even on the corporate scale, like there's a lot of companies investing into the Indian music platform, whatever. There's so much interest, you know, whenever I sit down with a record label in the UK, you know, the major record labels and people think, you know what, they're not paying attention to anything other than Radio 1 or whatever, right? You know, all the kind of mainstream music, but actually they're paying attention to what we're doing. And that's the beautiful thing. And so I used to think, oh, you know, I'm going to make a great pop song and then I'm going to get signed to a major label. But what's funny, I made just cool Asian songs, and all of a sudden now, you know, and it's beautiful to see that. It means that they're recognizing that there's music outside of, you know, just mainstream commercial music. So it's definitely moving over to that place. And there's so many opportunities. And I've spoken to, I won't name any names, I've spoken to many people, heads of labels, who have said to me, we're just looking for a bunch of artists that do this, that do what you do. And that's good for me to hear, because I wish we had it when we was a kid. You know what I mean? When we were teenagers.
Yeah. But I
just definitely feel like the guys coming up now have just got it a lot easier, because there's so many people that done it before them. I feel like the guys coming up now have just got it a lot easier, because there's so many people that done it before them.
I remember, like, before I signed with the label, I was just like performing anywhere and everywhere. I was like 17, working in Top Man, and just trying to get noticed, man. It was a lot harder because we didn't really have, I mean, YouTube was out, but it wasn't as popping as it is now, you know? Yeah. So it was a lot harder, I think, back then. I think it's easier now. So I do feel like, yeah, the new generation can like release a single, and even there's like TikTok and, you know, all these different like platforms there, the song can go viral and you could go massive.
Yeah, and I think it's shifting now, you know, where the industry, I suppose the music thing's getting bigger, so artists are not, you know, less likely to share each other's work, in the sense that they're more likely to support each other, as was before. Like the old-fashioned way, I suppose, when I was a kid, was no one would ever really support anyone. Everyone was just worrying about, you know, surviving. But hopefully, when the industry gets to a better place, we're not worrying about surviving. We're more worried about thriving. You know what I'm saying? Together, kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, I've like live performances. Do you miss it?
Yeah, we just. I don't even know what that is, bro.
I mean, no, but you know, you've done a lot of shows. You know, I even came. I opened for you at your show that you did in London.
Yeah, you killed it, bro. You killed it.
That show. Like, remember afterwards, I called you and I was like, Zach, you're dope, bro. Like, you had a live band. You had. I don't know, it just felt like it was a concert that you'd see like a mainstream artist had like a big set with a band and everything. Like, you really give it everything in your performances as well. Like, is that something that you've always wanted to do, like perform with a live band and just give them a show? Because, you know, a lot of artists, especially like, you know, if they don't actually play a guitar or anything, they just come on, sometimes they even mime it on the song, you know what I mean? But you go in, like you actually go in with the live vocals.
Bro, like I'm not here to just come in and drop a couple of tunes and just go home, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying, it's the mentality, it's the longevity, man. We just want to be doing this for forever, bro, and because we're about it. And if you're about it, you're gonna consistently keep making music and put shows on. And like I said, those shows that you're talking about, I mean, like, I invested in all of them myself. I've had, you know, certain agencies in the mainstream industry say, hey, listen, we will take all your shows on and we'll pay you a fee just to turn up and sing and go home. And I'm like, nah, because I want to give the fans, I want to give the people, especially, I feel like we all represent our industry that we're part of. And if we're all going to do a half a job, what does that tell you? Where are the fans going to go? They're going to go and start listening to other people's music and other people's like type of music, like different genres. They're going to go away from Asian music because people are making an effort. And that's why there's a few amazing artists like Dil G and these kind of artists that I really respect, because they put on these massive shows. Obviously got massive fan bases from the subcontinent and abroad, but it's beautiful to see that they're doing things in a big scale, because it celebrates our industry, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And that's why I think doing shows, and it's really important. And as soon as I did that, I noticed other artists started booking out O2 Indigos and all those sort of places, which is great, because that's where it should be. We shouldn't be going to wedding venues. Like, you know, when you're coming up as an Asian artist, you're just stuck in these wedding venues with dodgy carpets and you're falling off and you've got the guy, you know, this old man who's like got some sort of 50-pound Maplin mic and he's like, oh yeah, you singing this. And I'm like, dude, this ain't even switched on. It even got any batteries in it, you know? We need to avoid them situations and start going to serious things if we want to be treated seriously.
I definitely agree with everything you just said there. I mean, I feel like for our scene to grow, I feel like everyone, whether it's promoters or, you know, just kind of everyone just doing their best and kind of like having a certain level of quality, you know, like not showing up to a show when the mic is like distorting, like, you know what I mean? Like, we've had shows like that, and it's
all the time. It's
literally, yeah. So I'm going somewhere in a couple of days for some private event. And it's like, the first thing I have to worry about is not what I'm going to say or what I'm going to perform. It's like, oh, what's the setup? Yeah.
You know, I know it's so basic, but even at this level, like, everybody has issues, you know?
You told me as well.
structure that we're in.
Yeah, you even said to me like you have your in-ear, like you have your own like mic and everything that you take with you.
I'll pull up with all this stuff. They're looking at it like they've never seen it before. I'm like, dude, are you, do you work? Are you a DJ, like a sound engineer? Like, have you ever worked with any bit of live music?
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, but we don't know how to connect. What is this headphone for?
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. That the kind of artist you are, you really go into detail with every aspect of your career, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. So you even taking a mic and an in-ear piece, like stuff like that. It's like that's so. I mean, they must look at you and like, wow, this guy's like proper knows what he's talking about.
It's also the other thing. Like I mentioned, Diljit, and those caliber of artists have been singing live without all these things, just singing straight up, like just like that. And so I suppose our industry they're such phenomenal singers, like they don't really need all these assistants and monitoring systems and stuff. But I'm I grew up, working in a band in a commercial band, and they all had all those gizmos. So it's like, why not learn from a successful industry? That's what it was. But yeah, it was fun, man. We had a lot of jokes anyway along the way.
Did you, because it's been in a Bollywood movie, like being one of the only artists to cross over from like pop music to like one of the biggest movie soundtracks in Bollywood of 2018. Like that is an achievement. And not only that, the prestigious IFA award, bro. Like that's like the Oscars of India, right? Like that must have been, like, how was that for you, bro? Was that like a journey does it feel like blurry right now when you think about it?
It's like, there's a couple of things, like just going to the IFAs and seeing like all these actors that I used to see when I was a kid, like that was the biggest eye opener. Yeah, the progression of having a song and it doing well is amazing, but obviously the novelty of that kind of thing wears off after you do it for a while. But more what really hit me was just seeing people like Sunny Deol and meeting like childhood heroes like Rishi Kapoor before he passed and whatnot, and like all these that childhood kind of like, I'll say kind of like heroes almost, and them just like talking to me normally and saying, hey, like, we really like what you're doing. And it was just really, that was really crazy. Like a pinch myself moment. Yeah. Right. I just thought they would never even talk to me, like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, like, and then literally I was in one meeting and I was at an after party and like people were talking to me about, we've got this movie coming up, and it was just like being in that circle and seeing how that's for me like a crazy moment, just kind of meeting those people and having so much like respect like from them, and like acknowledgement of like what I'm doing, and actually I went to a few Bollywood producers like houses, and they were like, you guys don't need to be like us because we're trying to be like you guys, and that was really eye-opening. But the whole movie thing was crazy. I've been working with T-Series for like 3 years at that time anyway. Right. So the whole point, the whole point of working with one of the biggest Bollywood labels in India was to finally do a movie. So it was like, okay, all right, finally we got a song that goes into a movie. Like it was one of those moments.
That's incredible. So incredible. What are you working on now then? Like what's the plan for you? Like, you've been releasing like singles and videos. Have you got like
It's been hard because like I've had a few collaborations and stuff, and like bringing people in and flying people out and that kind of thing has been really hard. Obviously COVID situation is not really lifted. We're looking at maybe a second wave. Who knows? Yeah. And the thing is, the reason why I say that is because it's really messed up our release cycle, because I had literally 3 singles like ready, and then I had the album ready that I'm going to release in December. So the album's definitely coming out in December, but I've got the first single, and I literally was just doing it last night, just finishing it off, and we're shooting it next week. So so it's like I've got the new single, and then it's just all over the place, because it's like we're just trying to make sure we don't get another wave, or we don't get another lockdown, because then the shoot's over. Right.
You're gonna release an album. Can we get like maybe like a line or something, like a drop a couple of lyrics? It could be like from Bomb Diggy or whatever. Like, do you feel comfortable to sing something right now? I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't tell you this, but no, because you know what it is.
You know what? I was out on the town. I was like smoking shisha, enjoying myself.
You know what's crazy? Like, honestly, like you were a singer. Like you can actually sing. You riff. Like obviously doing the live shows, the live band. I heard you riffing out. Like you can actually sing. Because there's a lot of artists out there that use autotune and all that. So that's like maybe the line.
I've never usually sang with a piano before, but when I performed at the Britasia Awards actually a couple of years back, it was like the first time I got to, they kindly gave me like a grand piano, and I remember that feeling of like being able to sing without no band, you know, just me and a piano and live. You know, that's the best feeling in the world. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I want to do more of that, and I'm doing a lot of that on my own shows, which is nice. So
yeah, I think definitely. I feel like also kind of like, you know, I feel like with the fusion music kind of getting bigger and kind of like getting that attention from the mainstream also, I think it's so important to kind of show, I don't know, A&Rs or labels or whatever, that we as brown people can sing a riff too, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's great.
Man.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think, yeah, and you know, the way you sing live and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to get you to sing like one line maybe. But if you don't want to do it, then it's so good.
Mean, you know, I could sing it, but I mean, when I was in India, every day I was just like, oh, what is the URL area? I mean, you know, I probably sound like Bon Jovi right now. So unless you're on like a rock and roll record.
You play, isn't it? You play all like, it's piano, you play the guitar. Did you teach yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I say I play guitar and stuff. I'm more pianist more than anything. But again, I'm not even a pianist, man. I don't class myself as like a musician. I'm more of a songwriter. But yeah, I can play chords, I can play songs, But it's one of those, man. It's like, I don't know like every single chord in the guitar kind of thing. I try and keep myself like grounded. I don't want to be like, I know it all. The minute you think you know everything is when, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I get you. And
our mindset.
Yeah. And you said that you're working on this album, and it's coming out in December. What kind of vibe are you going for? What can we expect from the album?
Oh yeah, man, it's an evolution. Like, it's a completely different sound. I feel like it's just a completely new wave. I brought in like the Spanish, obviously the Spanish influences. Who can get away from that on the radio?
It's dope, yeah.
I'm bringing obviously I love Punjabi music. My mum's Punjabi, so she's, you know, that's kind of like my second language almost now anyway. And mixing that with like the urban beats, but it's very much up tempo. So I'm no longer playing a heartbroken soppy guy anymore. Like it's changing more towards like just house tunes, party tunes, and just harder songs. Like I've got a few trap songs, a few like Afrobeat songs.
Nice. That's a different side to you. I'm excited for everyone to hear your next release because it's very different to what you do.
I know I played you a couple of ideas, so you know, I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I'm honestly, like, I think people are going to be surprised when they hear this album because, you know, people know your music already, but I like that you're really trying to kind of do different genres and different styles. Like, bro, I can see your awards at the back there. That's like, you must look at that when you wake up and be like, yes.
The guy made it, and I was like, I need something to put there. It wasn't like we made it.
It's a good place to put it. You got the plaque there, you got the awards, man.
Got the Britasia awards right there. You know?
Representing there. Nah, do you know what, Zach? I'm so thankful and happy that you agreed to do this, and I hope that viewers that are watching this can see a bit more of your personality that, you know, I see and I know of you, and I think you're such a humble, down-to-earth guy, and you know what? I can't wait for this album to drop. You're gonna go way beyond where you've already been. You know what I mean? So,
man, you know, you just got to keep doing what we do. We love what we do, so that's the most
Definitely.
important thing. So.
But
No, I appreciate it. Nice to finally speak to you in there.
Yeah, because you're always like, oh, calling me, or you want to come round? I'm like, yeah, I'm just doing this. No, but honestly, thank you so much for being on the show, bro.
Right.
And you know what? Honestly, can't wait for the album. You know, people can. Then you got a single coming out as well. But yeah, thank you again, bro. Have a good rest of the day, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Call you in 5 minutes. Take care, bro.
That's good luck.
Thanks,
Take care, man.
Let the people hear that voice. Damn, when you hear that name.
It was a proud moment for the Asian culture.
I just looked in the mirror and I accepted myself.
Yes. Please, I beg you, cut it out.